The house stood alone, dark, imposing. It was at the edge of town, on Harbinger Lane. No one dared to go near it. Locals whispered tales, stories of its haunted past. It had become a local legend, a place of fear. The windows were boarded up, like the house was hiding a secret. The paint was peeling, the garden overgrown. It was a testament to time and terror, a place where darkness lingered. There were 5 friends. They were daring, always seeking adventure. Their bond was unbreakable, forged through countless escapades and shared secrets. They thrived on the thrill of the unknown, the rush of adrenaline that came with every new challenge. They were drawn to the unknown. The more mysterious, the better. It was as if the very essence of adventure called out to them, beckoning them to uncover its secrets. The haunted house was a challenge. They couldn't resist. It stood at the edge of town, shrouded in legends and whispers. Tales of ghostly apparitions and eerie sounds filled the air, but to them, it was an invitation. There was Mark, the leader, brave and bold. He had a knack for rallying the group, his confidence infectious. Emily, the skeptic, always rational. She questioned everything, grounding the group with her logic. Jake, the jokester. His humor was a shield, a way to mask his own fears. Trying to hide his fear. Sophia, the quiet one, observant and cautious. She noticed details others missed, her silence a strength. And Chris, the techie, ready to document everything. His gadgets were an extension of himself, capturing every moment for posterity. They had heard the stories. Tales of ghostly figures, strange noises and unexplained events. Each story more fantastical than the last, passed down through generations. But they didn't believe them. To them, these were just tales spun to keep children in line, to add a touch of mystery to their mundane town. They thought it was all silly. Ghosts and ghouls were the stuff of fiction, not reality. They laughed at the idea, their skepticism a badge of honor. Just stories to scare kids. They dismissed the warnings, confident in their belief that there was no such thing as the supernatural. They wanted to prove everyone wrong, to uncover the truth. Their curiosity was insatiable, their determination unwavering. They were on a mission to debunk the myths and reveal the reality behind the haunted house. Little did they know what awaited them. As they crossed the threshold, a chill ran down their spines. The air was thick with anticipation. The house seemed to breathe with a life of its own. They were about to embark on an adventure that would test their courage, their friendship, and their very beliefs. It was a Friday night. The air was thick with anticipation. The friends gathered at the edge of town. Before them stood the house. Their challenge awaited.
Ready to do this?
His voice was a mix of excitement and nervousness. The others nodded, their faces illuminated by the flashlight beams. They stepped onto the property. The house seemed to watch them, like a predator stalking its prey. The air grew colder. They could feel it in their bones. Something wasn't right, but they were determined to go on. The front door was imposing, made of dark, heavy wood. It creaked open slowly, like it didn't want to be disturbed. The smell hit them first, musty and old, like something had died inside. They stepped into the house. Their footsteps echoed in the silence. The darkness seemed to press in on them. The air was heavy, difficult to breathe. It felt like they were being watched. They could hear their hearts pounding. The silence was broken only by their breaths and the sound of their own fear. They explored the house room by room, each one filled with decaying grandeur. Cobwebs hung from every corner and dust covered everything. The air was thick with the scent of mold and mildew, making it hard to breathe. The floorboards creaked under their feet, echoing through the empty halls. It felt as if the house itself was alive, watching their every move.
They found old furniture covered in sheets, like ghosts of the past. The once luxurious sofas and chairs now stood as silent sentinels of a bygone era. The fabric, once vibrant, was now faded and tattered. It was as if time had stopped in this place, leaving everything in a state of perpetual decay.
Suddenly Mike stopped. He pointed to the end of the hallway. His eyes widened in fear, and his hand trembled. The others followed his gaze, straining to see what had caught his attention.
"Did you see that?" His voice was barely a whisper, but it carried a weight of dread that sent shivers down their spines.
A shadow flickered at the edge of their vision. It was gone as quickly as it appeared. They all felt a chill run down their spines. The shadow had been indistinct, more of a suggestion than a solid form, but it was enough to unsettle them deeply. They exchanged nervous glances, each one wondering if they had truly seen something or if their minds were playing tricks on them.
"It's just the wind." Emily tried to sound confident, but her voice betrayed her unease. The wind howled through the broken windows, making the curtains flutter like ghostly apparitions.
But even Emily couldn't shake the feeling that they were not alone. The house seemed to pulse with a life of its own, and every creak and groan felt like a whisper from the past. They continued down the hallway, their footsteps echoing in the oppressive silence. The feeling of being watched grew stronger with each step, and they couldn't help but glance over their shoulders, half expecting to see the shadowy figure lurking in the darkness. They continued their exploration, their initial excitement fading, replaced by a growing unease. The house, once a symbol of adventure, now felt like a labyrinth of shadows and whispers. Each creak of the floorboards sent shivers down their spines, and the air grew colder with every step they took. They reached the top of the stairs, the wooden steps groaning under their weight. The staircase seemed to stretch endlessly, leading them deeper into the unknown. The hallway was dark and narrow, with a single flickering light bulb casting long shadows. The light bulb's erratic flickers created an unsettling dance of light and darkness, making the hallway appear even more menacing. Mark was in the lead, his curiosity driving him forward. He seemed determined to uncover the secrets hidden within the walls of the old house. He turned the corner, and then he was gone. One moment he was there, and the next he had vanished into thin air, leaving the group in stunned silence.
"Mark!" The name echoed through the empty hallway, bouncing off the walls and fading into the darkness.
Emily called out, her voice echoing in the silence. Her heart raced as she strained to hear any response, but there was nothing. There was no answer, only an eerie silence. The oppressive quiet seemed to swallow their voices, amplifying their fear. They waited, their hearts pounding. But Mark didn't reappear. The seconds felt like hours as they stood there, paralyzed by fear and uncertainty.
Where did he go? The question hung in the air, unanswered and unsettling.
Her voice trembled, betraying the fear she tried to hide. The worry etched on her face mirrored the growing dread within the group. They all knew something was terribly wrong. The atmosphere was thick with tension, and the realization that Mark was truly missing began to sink in. They huddled together, seeking comfort in their shared fear, but the unanswered questions loomed over them like a dark cloud. They searched for Mark, but he was nowhere to be found. The house seemed to mock them with its silence and shadows. They were starting to panic, their initial bravery gone. They decided to leave the house, to regroup and come up with a plan. As they turned to go, they heard it, a whisper coming from the shadows. It called their names softly, insidiously. It was like the house itself was speaking. They froze, their blood running cold. The whispers grew louder, more insistent. They were trapped. The whispering seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. It was disorienting, terrifying.
"We have to get out of here."
Emily couldn't take it anymore. She turned to run, and then she was gone. 1 minute she was there, the next she was gone. Vanished into thin air. The others stared in disbelief, their minds struggling to comprehend what was happening. Where were their friends going? The whispers continued, mocking their fear. They were being picked off, one by one. They were down to 3, Jake, Sophia, and Chris. They were terrified, but they had to stick together. They had to escape the house. They found themselves in a room, at the end of a long hallway. The room was dark, except for a single mirror. It glimmered in the darkness, like an evil eye. As they approached the mirror, they noticed something strange. Their reflections were wrong, twisted, evil. The reflections reached out as if trying to grab them, They stumbled back in horror. The mirror was alive. They turned to flee, but the door was gone. They were trapped. The mirror shimmered. The reflections grew stronger. Jake was the first to go. He screamed as his reflection reached out and pulled him in. Sophia and Chris were next. They disappeared into the mirror, leaving no trace. The room was silent, the only sound. The soft hum of the house. It had claimed them all. Chris found himself alone, in a dark and unfamiliar place. He didn't know where he was or how he got there. He was surrounded by shadows and the feeling of dread. He called out for his friends, but only silence answered. He was all alone, trapped in the haunted house.